Series Video Chat. I'm here with Sandy Wenzel. She's with VMware. We will hopefully get another guest on. We'll see. Who knows? But I'm going to rope some of you in. John Procap. Well, why don't you, Andrew? Why don't you invite John in, and we'll see if he can play a little bit of our game. But Sandy, our topic is hacking virtualization. So just for those uninitiated, virtualization and security, give us a quick 20-second explanation.
Yeah, absolutely. So it provides dedicated security services within a cloud construct, and that's down to the tenants and even the service subscribers. So when it's executed correctly, this actually leads to things like lower operational expenses, easier management. So in a chestnut shell, virtualization actually centralizes administrative tasks and enables scalability of workloads, which leads to consolidation of network infrastructure.
And we have John Procap, who he has no problem currently getting on to the system. Thank you, John, by the way. You are a CISO. What school environment are you a CISO at?
I'm actually, my title's not CISO, but it's IT leader, security and compliance for Success Academy charter schools here in New York City.
Excellent. Okay. How savvy are you in the world of virtualization?
Probably not as savvy as our guest.
I understand. That's right.
But I understand it pretty well, and I get the concept. So
let me ask you a question: if you were being pulled over by a traffic cop right now, and you had to get out of a ticket, how would you get out of a ticket by explaining virtualization to a traffic cop?
I would say to a traffic cop,
like, "Oh, traffic cop. Well, let me explain. This is what was happening."
If you needed something and your neighbors all needed that same thing, you could each buy one individually, and you may pay $100, but you only need 15% of it. So why not everybody kick in $20 and you can buy a tool that everyone could use?
So are you bribing the cop at this point?
No, I would not bribe the cop.
Sounds like a Ponzi scheme.
All right.
Uh-oh. A rough crowd.
All right. So, Sandy, you have a partner who doesn't care what you do for a living at all, okay? They are now explaining virtualization to someone else at a cocktail party. How are they explaining it?
So
and again, they don't care what it is that you do at all.
Yeah. They are probably explaining it that there are little people that live in computers that do a lot of work to make other things work. And these people are not called CISOs because they're little people in computers. And they actually go through and make sure everything runs correctly, smoothly. You can call them, instead of elf on a shelf, you can call them like little Santa's compute helpers. And that's probably how they would describe that.
Sandy, that is the best explanation, actually, I've heard of virtualization.
Welcome, everybody.
Ever.
The CISO Series Video Chat is ready to begin.
Hey, welcome everybody. Today's topic is hacking virtualization, an hour of critical thinking about how virtualization can simplify your security architecture. And we are having some difficulty getting one of our guests to come in. So we're going to be bouncing through guests. We appreciate John Procap joining us. Any of you who think you're savvy on virtualization, please speak up because we want you to be a part of this. One of our guests, if we can get him on, is Edward Haletke. He's the SVP GIS Platform Security Architect. He works at a financial institution. But the woman you just heard is Sandy Wenzel. She's the Cybersecurity Transfer Information Engineer at VMware. And also, you just heard John Procap as well. Whoops. Where'd my cursor go? There it is. Our sponsor for today's video chat is VMware. Huge thanks to VMware for making this video chat possible. Thank you so much. They've been phenomenal sponsors of the CISO series. All right, lots of ways to participate. Many of you already know these. You can participate in the chat room where a lot of that is going on right now. Submit your worst idea for securing a virtualized environment. Let's see it, just label bad idea in front of it. Or how do we make it 10% better? What's your little tip of making this a little bit better? Let's vote in the polls as well. Join us on video at any time by typing bring me on. In fact, please do that because we need some more of you to join us. Ask a question anytime and vote for your favorite question as well. All right, today's schedule is Explain It to Me. We just played that. Also, we want you to be playing Worst Idea for Securing a Virtualized Environment. Again, label it as Bad Idea. Or how do we make it 10% better? Label it 10%. And then we'll have a poll live for a vote for the worst idea for securing a virtual environment. So get those bad ideas in the first 20 minutes. Now, We are probably going to need a third because I know John Procap is going to join us for the I Object game. So I'm going to sucker one of you else to play I Object as well. Maybe Dutch, I see, is there, or Sandor if you'd like to play. Then we'll play This Totally Sucks. Again, I'm going to rope one of you virtualization experts in to join us for that as well. You'll play against Sandy. If we can't get Edward on, hopefully we'll be able to get Edward back on. And a poll live will vote for how to make it 10% better, and also the worst idea contenders will face off. Then our last question, final advice, and then our meetup, which is our last meetup of the year. So please stick around for our meetup, which is the tail end as well. Our next chat is not for more than a month from now. It will be hacking DDoS, distributed denial of service. There is a link at the bottom of the screen. If you click on that link at any time during this, you can register for the video chat, and it will not take you out of this video chat. You will stay right here in the video chat. So please stick around for that as well. Okay, I don't need to show anything more here. Sandy, thank you so much for being here. And please give us some questions. And by the way, speak up. I see a few new people here. H-Town Vinny, who I haven't seen before. I don't know. I'm missing some of the other names here. Imani as well. So, by the way, please, if you've got any comments, questions about virtualization, pipe up. We would love to hear from you. But I've got questions for you, Sandy. Let's just, at the most basic, because when we were setting this whole thing up, we wanted to talk about just what is virtualization's role in security in general? So let's just start at the most, literally, because we're going to kind of be talking architecture level here. Sure. What is virtualization's role in security?
So virtualization's role in security is kind of like I mentioned before, it's taking those dedicated security services and applying them onto that host workload or multi-tenant environment, especially as we talk about multi-cloud or not knowing where hosts or even where your data is stored. So being able to apply security in virtualization, it helps you with things like, we're going to talk about it later, but like roles in zero trust, or being able to consolidate technologies and not being able to, not having to traffic steer to another bare metal box to do any sort of advanced inspection outside of like IP port protocol.
Okay, that's a good way of setting it up. What do organizations take virtualization seriously as a sort of a security architecture measure when they're first setting it up, or is it just like, wow, virtualization is cool. Look at how much we're able to do so simply and spin things up and spin things down with sort of not much of a sort of an awareness to security?
So I've seen both. Right.
Okay.
So I've seen folks who have set up, virtual environments with security in mind, especially when it comes to like setting up VDI environments and being able to actually have people not carry laptops or assign them desktops anymore. So they set up virtual environments that have, ISOs or a golden image, and they're allowed to use these things, or as a jump box. So if they are trying to access, their mission critical assets, they need a VDI for a jump box and all that. So, and I've seen on the other side as well, where it's like, oh, we want to just set up infrastructure, or what they call, as they have like different sort of, I just have a credit card and I'm going to go spin up a workload in AWS and tie it back to this. And the company doesn't really know about it. So again, I've seen it on both ends.
All right. We have H-Town Vinny. I'm assuming your first name is Vinny. Yes.
First name is Vince.
Vincent. All right, Vincent. Do you want to identify where you are, who you're working for? And I love your green glow light in the back, by the way.
Got to have a little bit of branding hints when you're doing these video things. My name is Vince Wood. I run a podcast called IT Reality. My persona is H-Town Vinny. That's why you're seeing that.
Okay.
But professionally, I do work for a Veeam certified service provider by the name of Offsite Data Sync. So I actually work with customers to do disaster recovery testing and planning of their VMware and that other virtualization provider that some people like to use.
Okay. So can I ask you the same question that I was asking Sandy about, where do you see virtualization sort of architecture in the sort of, in sort of building out sort of a security plan, if you will?
Well, it's everywhere.
Right.
I'll just say that in companies that I've worked in the past, where virtualization was just one part of the picture and nobody really cared about it, it just happened to be there because it saved them some money. Moving forward, there's not going to be an option. You know, there will be cases where there's an extreme case, you're in the middle of nowhere, you can't get a good enough pipe to the internet, so there'll be physical workloads. But for everyone else, I don't see you not being involved with some level of virtualization. And that's from an appliance standpoint, from a server standpoint, heck, even, containers and everything else. So,
all right. Sounds good. We actually got our first question in. Stay right there, right here. From Phil Wolf. Oh, I didn't realize Phil was here. Phil, we're going to be roping you in as well. If virtualization is abstracting/coordinating resources, is security defending those resources and the process of virtualization? Good question. Sandy, what's your take on that?
It should be. It definitely absolutely should be, right? Because when those resources are deployed and you don't know what they're doing, or, again, we're not down asking the developers or even knowing what those jobs are, because a lot of people still have, very siloed and making decisions in a vacuum. But if there is a good virtualization environment that's managed correctly and well, then you should be able to absolutely apply security in all facets of that, from the configuration of the host machine to, when it's deployed.
All right. I asked the same thing to you, Vincent. Is security defending those resources and the process of virtualization?
Every step of the way. It's not a holistic, it's not a outside in thing. It's not a north-south thing as was introduced earlier. It's every step of the process. And VMware has some great products that can help with that. Others do as well. But if you're not thinking about security when you're starting any task in the virtualization space, you're missing out on one big picture.
Oh, by the way, Phil Wolf's bad idea is virtualize your Log4j deployment. That's so timely and bad. All right, Vincent, thank you so much for joining us. I may rope you in again, so thank you very much. Let's bring in Phil Wolf, because he's an awesome contributor, and I always appreciate his input on this. Let's go to another question here I have for you, Sandy, is, all right, given that virtualization is powering cloud environments, what is virtualization's role in zero trust architecture? And we talked about zero trust with a VMware person just last week. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So the foundational steps in zero trust are visibility and being able to identify those mission critical assets. So again, if your virtualized environment is set up and managed correctly, then that should be an easy breezy task. But I know, again, I said should be, that's the key word, but I know it's not for a lot of folks for a number of reasons. But the ever so popular use case of things like microsegmentation and isolation in a multi-tenant environment without needing to, again, steer that traffic to some other bare metal box that's higher up in the network stack. So the TLDR version is that virtualization plays multiple parts in this concerto called Zero Trust.
What a wonderful explanation. The concerto that we call Zero Trust. I love that. Yeah. That's excellent. Are we bringing in Phil? Are we bringing in Phil Wolf? Phil, are you available to come in? If he's not available, you know what? Somebody who works for a cloud environment, Mr. Dutch Schwartz, maybe we could bring Dutch in as well here. All right. Everyone is multi-cloud, though, Sandy. And does this story change when we're going multi-cloud, when we're dealing with virtualization? Because, and again, excuse my ignorance here, I'm assuming we're virtualizing per cloud environment, yes? And we're talking multi-cloud, Dutch. I don't know if you missed that. So does this story change much when we go multi-cloud, when we're dealing with virtualization? Sandy, you first.
Yeah, so absolutely. There are tools, especially around automation or deploying infrastructure as code, so it shouldn't be, but it is, right? Because you have different levels of service agreements and SLAs between the public cloud providers. And that's where understanding the responsibility, the shared responsibility model really comes into play. But in order to execute this, you need to really be flexible and dynamic when it comes to securing hybrid and multi-cloud environments. Because again, you're quickly deploying security that's deployed through software. It's not, again, bare metal and everything else. So this can be implemented as an application that's directly on the hypervisor itself, or even as a hosted service. So it's deployed where it's most effective. So again, in this example, virtual environments, you can dynamically attach the virtual machines to the appropriate groups, or what we call security groups, based on the relevant context, tags, and business logic. So this means that the security policy can actually follow it wherever the workload is, no matter what cloud it lives in.
All right, we have we have Dutch Schwartz with us, who works at AWS. Dutch, have you actually ever seen a VMware deployment on AWS? Dutch, can you hear us? He cannot hear us. Dutch, are you there? Nah, he can't hear us. All right. My guess is the answer is yes, he has. But I'm going to, we have another question coming. By the way, get your questions in as well. This comes from Imre Farkas, and my apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly, but what is your best argument to persuade auditors to not be stuck on looking at physical infrastructure in cloud environments for gaining assurance on data security where it is rarely possible? First of all, do they look at physical infrastructure in cloud environments, auditors? I don't even know. Sandy? Yes? No?
I guess it depends on the cloud environment, because on like public cloud, you can't really look at, or even co-location, you can't really look at. But I guess I'm assuming it's some sort of like where the data is stored and if they're like FIPS compliant, or I need more on that question.
Well, Ian Pointer says, get a better auditor. But Edward Halecki says, yes, they do. Our guest, who unfortunately we can't bring on camera. But he does say they do actually do that. Well, if you want to give us some more color to that, Ed, please do. But I do actually like Ian Pointer's comment. But what has been your experience with auditors with dealing with virtualization? Are they savvy enough to understand what the heck's going on? Let's start with that. Yes, Sandy? No?
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. It depends on who the auditor is and what company they're from. But a lot of the bigger ones, the good ones that I've worked with, were absolutely able to discern, the difference and be able to get what we needed, or, ask for further clarification on information that was needed. All
right. We lost Dutch a while ago. Actually, I think Dwayne or Dutch can hear us. Dwayne or Phil, if we can get either of them in. Oh, he plugged in a headset. Or Dutch, any of them. Get them joining on again. And by the way, let me remind people, you have 4 minutes to get your bad ideas in, because we're going to be voting. We'll be putting our poll up, and then we'll have the bad idea face out. Oh, we got Dutch. You're back. Yes, Dutch, you can hear us?
I can.
All right. Dutch, the question I had for you earlier was, has a virtualized environment ever, or a VMware environment ever appeared on AWS?
Appeared on AWS?
Yes. Does VMware exist on AWS? Would you say yes?
Yeah, I would say.
A couple of times?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
We were talking about multi-cloud, and do you know that if there are unique behaviors of VMware instances as opposed to your cloud competitors like Google and Azure, for that matter?
Well, I mean, I think, to be fair to VMware or any other, not somebody who, I think the advantage is that customers are in a situation where they want to use multiple CSPs, right? And that's a valid approach. Yeah, I mean, so to defer to that, there's value in those approaches, absolutely. I mean, so I think each of the three that you mentioned have frameworks and controls and things that are advantageous inside of that environment, and then there's other vendors like VMware.
No, I'm just saying. Well, yeah. I think more of my question was, when going back to it was about the zero trust journey with virtualization and how it changes in multi-cloud environment. If you're not, if this is not the right question for you, that's totally cool. But let me then say this, have you had discussions with customers with regards to dealing with a zero trust, with, dealing with building a zero trust program using a virtualized environment, I guess, within AWS?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So that's more.
Let's go to that.
That's a clear question. Yeah. I mean, so we're all in we're still at the early stages of, like we've talked about in the earlier sessions, on zero trust being an approach, right? It's not a specific technology or even a specific set of technologies. It's really a way of rethinking how you're looking at identifying assets, databases, workloads, in a different way, right? Because we fundamentally always thought of things as people, right? And that's the default. And when you move into a cloud-based environment, regardless of vendor, you have to start thinking about attributes, right? And things that you give access to resources in a different way that's frankly ephemeral, right? I never trust you. I always never trust you, right? And so that's more of a design. It's sort of like early days, if you will, of agile, right? It's a way of, there are tools and there are solutions, but it starts with, I'm going to fundamentally rethink how I vend and think about trust. And so that's involves multiple vendors, quite frankly, to do that successfully.
Let me go back to you, Sandy, about what are because I'm assuming zero trust, is on everybody's mind, and they're confused and they think they can buy it out of a box, and they can't do that, but it's a journey. What are what are the opening concerns that they have when they come to you to talk to you about this?
So a lot of them want to start, because again, working for VMware and having isolation and being able to microsegment, they say that microsegmentation is too hard, or they want to start immediately there. And I have to kind of take them back and ask them, well, where are you stuck? And it's typically under like asset management, or being able to clearly identify even not just people, but machine to machine, like what's actually communicating together. So it's being able to map those out and say, yes, you actually have the tools to do this today, and then work from there. That's typically where I start when people start throwing out zero trust.
By the way, the poll is live. Everybody, please go vote in the poll. Oh, and that speaks to our next game, which, you know what? Dutch, you're already on. Bring John Procap on. We're going to play I Object. I know you had. I told you. We're going to play I Object, because I forgot we're doing this at 20 minutes past the hour, so that's we're awesome. At the time.
Yeah, I know he's good at this. So I'll have to keep my toes ready.
All right. For those of you who don't know how the I Object game works, great, John's right on the money here. Here's how it works. Sandy, you're going to begin here, and the goal here is you have exactly 1 minute among the three of you to explain how best to secure a virtualized environment. That's what you're trying to do. That's the argument you're trying to make. At any time, you, Dutch, or you, John, can object to what Sandy's saying. When you object, the clock stops. Andrew, the producer, is maintaining the clock. So I don't know the time, and none of you know the time either. The clock stops. You make your argument. Wait till I say sustained or overruled. If I say sustained, the mic goes to you. The goal, like kind of musical chairs for the microphone, the goal is when the buzzer sounds, the minute is over, you want to be talking. All right? All right. And then the other thing that I stress here is do not be polite. I can't stress that enough. Do not be polite.
No words with Dutch.
Whoa.
All right.
I was looking at you, man.
Sandy, when you are cut off, and by the way, Valerie Apperson is rooting for you, I see. Right there. Thank you, Valerie, for that matter. All right. Sandy, are you ready?
I'm ready. Ready as it will be.
The clock begins when you begin making your argument for securing a virtualized environment. Begin.
Well, first of all, don't use public IPs for vSphere. That's one. Number two, look at virtual patching to get understanding of vulnerabilities and patch management, and be able to go through and actually understand what those assets are and properly categorize them. And you can actually work with your developers to do this. So in a very automated fashion or way, anytime a new workload spins up, it has proper policy. It follows that policy no matter what cloud or service provider that it's going to, and be able to actually keep tabs on it to say, hey, has this configuration or is this being misconfigured, down to how that host is deployed. So again, you want to keep security at every part, every step of the way.
All right. Objection. What's your objection?
Well, my objection is that while I'm aspirationally going to use VMware and be fully cloud, I'm not fully cloud today. So how do I do asset inventory?
Go ahead.
How do I do asset inventory on my physical assets, especially the ones that I don't own? So I have everybody working from home. They're not even employee devices. I don't have control over the devices. I only have control over the path once it reaches me. So there's no way to really do zero trust in a virtual environment without addressing the fact that I've got to fundamentally figure out where my crown jewels are initially. What are all the devices and people?
Oh, Dutch wins. Dutch wins with only a single objection for the whole time. Congratulations.
John was waiting
Dutch has won before. Congrats.
Sandy was too good. I had nothing to object to.
I know. Sandy was good. Sandy,
I was
you
trying
went
to listen Dutch out. Yeah, I was
By the way,
trying to listen Dutch out.
Kudos to you, Sandy, for just good. Nailing all the good stuff at the beginning. But
she almost filibustered her way through it.
I know. Dutch.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
really
Dutch,
good stuff.
I'm going to give kudos to both of you. And John just couldn't find his place to step in. All right. Thank you very much, both of you here. We'll sign both of you off right now. We'll bring somebody else in just a second. Edward, unfortunately, is having some trouble, but he is giving some great advice in the back channel. Said put vCenter vSphere behind a firewall, protect management, protect the environment from DDoS itself, monitor the toxic combos, detect for unknown unknowns. I don't know how do you detect for unknown unknowns, Sandy? Isn't that like the $64,000 question?
Yeah, I wish, because then we wouldn't be dealing with this issue that's going on currently.
Imri Farkas just wrote National Bank Regulators. What do you mean by this, Imri? Okay, give me a little bit more clue on this. All right, we are in 5 more minutes. We're going to play another game. I'm going to drag probably Dwayne Gran in here because I'm going to get him on here. So let's invite Dwayne in to play our next game, and we will. Please, if you have not voted in our poll, please vote in our poll. Oh, many of you have not voted in our poll. Please vote because I'm going to want to know who the best bad ideas are. And after actually we play our next game, we'll pick the 2 best bad ideas so far as depended. Drift analysis, security analysis. That's what Edward says. I'm assuming he's referring to the unknown unknowns there. Dwayne, hopefully he can join us and come on in. And again, if you have not registered for their next video chat, it's going to happen in a month. Go ahead and click that link. Do that right now. All right. Oh, I have some more questions. What are the legacy approaches to black box architecture that don't work? I know lift and shift, that it's like moving from lift and shift. That's legacy. That does not work. But can we drill down and examine those aspects more? Like what specifically in lift and shift does not work? Sandy.
Yeah. So the first thing is shifting the decades of mistakes from traditional data centers and traditional perimeter and traditional basically architectures from the 90s to any cloud. That'll get you nothing more than headaches, cost, and increased exposure. So when we look at hardware-based security is actually tied to a device that is typically static, or that's what the aim was. So it comes up, it has an IP address, it's important protocols. And also this term digital transformation is actually thrown out a lot, a lot. I hear it all the time. And I believe a lot of people actually
my dry cleaner even says it.
Yeah. So yeah, I believe people confuse that digital transformation with actual replatforming. So replatforming is like lift and shift, like you mentioned, but it's just minor tweaks to get it to work in the cloud. That's completely different than what a digital transformation is. And as I kind of mentioned before, make sure it's understood what that shared responsibility model is, because all providers have different service level agreements, and that'll outline the organization's responsibilities. So there's actually a great chart I found while perusing around that's called Pizza as a Service, and it compares and outlines the various cloud as a service things and how we traditionally think of them, from on-premise dirt to data center to the different services that are offered.
Oh, I think we might be able to get Edward on now. Hopefully, trying to send. So hopefully we'll get Edward on in just a second. And if he comes on, we're going to play the next game with him. With that said, let's ask the really basic question: what are some of the top 2-3 concerns people have when they begin virtualizing and they're like, oh, this is not what I expected from a security perspective? What is it you're hearing, Sandy?
So a lot of it that I'm hearing is disaster recovery. How does that work? Because again, we think about traditional HA from a firewall or a network device. So it's how does disaster recovery work? How does failover work? Or they think of these monolithic spine and leaf type scenarios where everything comes into one hub and then it gets dispersed out, or some sort of huge load balancer in place. So it's that, and then not thinking of it as breaking it out into micro segmented, instances, or being able to have, copies of those environments throughout, globally, and being able to load balance that way and use the native security controls that are provided, as well as, what they offer, the load balancers and any sort of WAF and those types of functionality.
All right. Okay, we're trying to bring Ed on. If we can get him on, we'll get him to our next game. By the way, it's the same game we played last week, which this totally sucks, with a completely new board, by the way, if you remember the board. But we got a completely new one, so it's not the same stuff as behind that one. Cookies as a service, Jeff Cookies, which is the Ouija board. Oh, so let me just say, where are we on with the bad ideas right now? Virtualize security by making sure that nobody is responsible for it. Like that. So it's literally the virtualize the secure. I like that. Make it everyone. Take advantage of summer leasing deal to place the physical data center for your virtualized server in an open storage closet at DEF CON. Okay, there you go. Unfortunately, we're not Ed. I think we're going to have to bring Dwayne on. Let's invite Dwayne on. Unfortunately, Edward's still getting some issues. So we'll bring Dwayne on and we'll play our next game. All right. This is Dwayne Grand. Dwayne, please introduce yourself and what organization you're with.
Sure. I'm the Director of Information Security at Blue Ridge GSOP Associates. And, you'll be so glad to hear that I'm on brand.
Look at that. He's wearing. By the way, Sandy also has a CISO series jacket, but she's wearing that spectacular Star Wars Christmas sweater, which I must say I like. All right. Here's how this game is going to be played. I'm going to give you each 2 trivia questions about virtualization. All right. Now, you want to try to get these correct because it feeds into the next game, because where you have to pick from these mystery doors bad situations for your environment, although there's one good one. So the more you have to pick, the more potentially bad situations you're going to have. So the more you get right here, you get to pick less. You following me here? All right. Sandy, I'm going to have you answer the first question. It's a multiple choice. Here we go. And listen, because the 4 multiple choice answers are quite detailed here. The concept of virtualization is thought to have first been introduced when A, in the 1960s by IBM 360-67 running CPM/CMS as an approach to time sharing, or B, in the late 1980s by Ray Noorda's Novell NetWare operating system in order to support both CPM and MS-DOS clients, C, in 1996 via the Nintendo 64 game system to increase efficiency in its 64-bit processing, or in 1999 by Microsoft with its Windows 2000 OS as a means to build added resiliency into its server in case they were affected by Y2K. What do you think? A, B, C, or D, Sandy?
I'm going to go with B.
No, the correct answer actually was an A in the 1960s by IBM 360-67 running CPM CMS as an approach to time sharing. That's according to Oracle, by the way. According to, now this goes for you, Dwayne, according to Spiceworks 2020 State of Virtualization report, virtualization was most commonly used for A, application virtualization, B, data virtualization, C, storage virtualization, or D, virtual desktop infrastructure, or VDI. What do you think? A, B, C, or D?
I'm inclined to say D.
Ooh, no, the correct answer was C, storage virtualization. Sandy, did you know that?
I did not.
Did not. Oh, okay. I asked them to make some tough questions. These are tough questions.
They are.
All right. The next one for you, Sandy. True or false? Using non-persistent virtual machines is an effective way to help secure your network. True or false?
False.
All right. That is correct. And what is your theory? Why is it false?
Because if it's persistent, then it can be known or easily picked up. So if it's constantly changing our dynamic, it's a lot harder to land on that machine or take any sorts of information from it.
I'm saying using non-persistent virtual. I said using non-persistent virtual machines is an effective way to help secure your environment.
Oh, is a...
Did I say using persistent? My apology. I have said. Yeah. No, I said using non-persistent. Still true or false? Still false?
Using non-persistent.
Virtual machines is an effective way to help secure your network.
Well, I'm going to say using... Wait, sorry. Say that again. Using non-persistent virtual machines.
Virtual machines is an effective way to help secure your network.
Oh, true.
Actually false according to this. Okay. This is the tech advisor. In theory, any machine that encounters malware is wiped away and recreated cleanly. However, we are now seeing malware that is designed to survive teardown of individual machines by spreading across the virtual network. This allows it to return when new virtual machines are created. All right. Last question for you, Dwayne. This is, by the way, these are tough ones, I know. The first version of the virtual PC for Macintosh platform was released in June 1997 by which company? A, Apple, B, Connectix, C, Virtutech, or D, VMware? Dwayne, what do you think?
I actually encountered this before, and I know it's not Apple. Would you state the middle two again?
Apple, Connectix, Virtutech, or VMware?
Well, I'm going to assume that we're giving some love to the sponsor. I don't really know, so I'm going to say D, VMware.
No, it's not VMware. What do you think, Sandy?
So what was it again? Apple,
Connectix, or Virtutech?
I'm going to go with Apple.
No, it was Connectix.
Oh.
It was actually Connect. Oh. I'm surprised. Well, you know what? That's the kudos to our editor coming up with these super tough questions.
Wow.
They were super tough. All right. What this means now is we're going to be playing in this game where each of you have to pick five of these scenarios here, and you're going to see this in just a second. All right, here we go. Close this. What we have is we have a grid of 12 items. They vary in severity. Now, up to the audience right now, when they're done picking their 5 each, you have to determine who has the worst environment. And by the way, so Andrew, you're going to have to change the poll for Dwayne to Sandy. All right. So do me a favor. Sandy, you will go first. Pick a number 1 to 12. And by the way, there is one very good one behind here, but there's a variety. The other 11 are a variety of bad, from mild severe to very severe. So pick 1 through 12.
7.
7 we have. Whoops. Sent customers' troubleshooting logs to a different customer. Ooh, you don't want to be doing that. All right, Dwayne, pick one of the other 11.
5.
Number 5. We're going to 5, and that is employee plugs her IoT device into the network. All right, you are going to be the color red. Sandy, you are blue. Sandy, pick another one.
I will go with 10.
10. Here we go. And unencrypted wireless, no password on the Wi-Fi. That is not going to be good. Dwayne.
6.
We go with 6, right above. Engineer keeps diverting software updates for 2 years. That is not good. All right, we make you red. Here we go. Yeah. Sandy, pick another one.
3.
So we're going with 3. Oh, you've got no risk strategy whatsoever. It's a risk strategy free business. All right. Dwayne, you pick one.
Number 1.
Number 1. Here we go. Leaving a port open to print to printer. Also no good. All right, Sandy, another one from you.
12.
We're going to 12. What's 12? Having no locks on the networking closet. That's not a good idea. Dwayne, pick another one.
Number 8.
Number 8. Forgetting to patch critical firmware on servers. All right. All right. Last one for both of you. There is still one good one in here.
I'm going to go with 11.
Sandy goes with 11. Video camera system with no video storage. This is a real situation that actually happened. All right, Dwayne, you get the last one. Possibly one of the good. These has a good one behind it.
Last chance. How about number 4?
Number 4. We go up to 4, and that is having a recovery system to restore in 1 hour. That is the good one. All right.
That's doing good.
All right. Oh, whoops. Okay. So put the poll up, Andrew. So what we have here are the 5 scenarios for Dwayne and the 5 scenarios for Sandy. And I want you to discuss, what do you think here? This is your crappy situation. I would say the engineer keeps deferring software updates for 2 years, pretty bad. And the forgetting to patch critical firmware on servers is pretty bad for you, Dwayne. But you do have a recovery system to restore in an hour. The no risk strategy for you and the unencrypted wireless might be the pretty bad for you, Sandy. Do you think any of those are worse?
I mean, if I have no risk strategy, then that means I have no risk, right? I'm not thinking about it. So, I'm totally blind to it. Yeah, I'm going to go with the no risk strategy is pretty bad.
All right. Okay. We only have a vote for each of them. So we need you to vote for Sandy and Dwayne, please. What do you think is the worst situation you've got there, Dwayne?
I mean, here, let me move the poll out of the way. I mean, it's really I think the engineer, the 2 years on the software updates.
But not forgetting to patch the critical firmware on servers. Which one do you think is worse between those two?
I tend to think the software updates more than the well, I guess you say critical firmware.
It's critical firmware.
Actually colors it a little bit differently, come to think of it. Yeah. So
that one's worse. What do you think, Sandy? Which one's worse between those two?
It's tough. It's a tough call.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the critical firmware because deferring software updates, as we saw with like the supply chain attacks, that could be a good thing. Like not grabbing the latest. We only have a handful of your vote.
I'm going to give you 60 seconds to get your votes in here because we only have a handful in, and we're going to call a winner right now. I will just say Dwayne is leading. And who has the worst environment? Most people think Dwayne has the worst environment. Even though you did get the winner of having a recovery system restore an hour. This is how this game works. You can still have the winner, but you could have too many bad things. I would say your
Well,
items,
just because
Sandy.
you can, just because you can recover doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of damage. You could have
Right, that's a good
you could
point.
recover the systems. There could have been exfiltration. There could have been something embarrassing to clients and partners as a
You're not
result
making this
of
good
it.
for you, Dwayne. Arguing for people
Well,
to
I mean,
vote
it's
for
just
you.
I'm
Oh,
afraid.
wait, it's a
just
tie.
the
Hold
bare
on. We need a
truth.
tiebreaker in there. I'm giving you 10 seconds. Somebody get a tiebreaker. It's 5-5 right now. And there's more of you than 10. I know that.
And I'm not
Well,
voting. Okay.
I'm gonna give myself like I have a lot of physical stuff and no one's in the office. So I mean, who cares about video cameras or no locks on a network closet? No one's in the office. No one's.
Oh, wait, people are changing their votes. Hold on. I think I'm just going to call it a tie right now. Nobody seems to can make up their mind. I want to congratulate you, Dwayne. Congratulations, Sandy, for playing This Totally Sucks. It was a tie. We have not had a tie, but again, that's only the second time we played the game. But you know what we got? We got a lot more questions that have come in, and so let's ask them. This comes from Christopher Lee, and by the way, if anyone else wants to speak up here, please join us in the discussion. Just type "Bring Me On." What is everyone's opinion on? Well, everyone's. I'm going to ask Sandy's opinion. What is Sandy's opinion on cloud security auditors? I have a job interview scheduled with Coalfire, for example, after this, and curious if these 3 PAOs offer value. What is 3 PAOs? Excuse my ignorance. Do you know what that is, Sandy?
I do not.
Explain what's the 3 PAOs. So, do you have an opinion on cloud security auditors? Let's just start with that. Sandy.
I mean, if they are specific to cloud security, then they should be very much in your business and what's going on. So if they do their job well, they're going to be very nosy. It can be annoying for those that have to gather the evidence for them. But again, if they're doing their job well and they're focused on cloud security, then they should be pretty up to par.
Andrew, I noticed the poll for the best bad ideas has disappeared. Can we bring that back for a second? The best bad ideas. We'd love to see that. I'm sorry, I cut you off there. Sandy, your closing comment there on cloud auditors?
Oh, no, just they're going to be super nosy, and that's not always a bad thing.
No, but that's the job of the auditor. And also, we keep hearing that, auditors are a two-way street. It isn't just, they come, they audit, they tell you what to do, and then they walk away. I mean, it's very much a two-way street. What are the questions people do not ask about virtualization that they should be asking, Sandy?
I think a lot they should be asking is, how it's more of a culture than a technology. It's how should I get my people to start thinking about it this way, right? Mm-hmm. Because as, we're part of a few generations where we've had physical equipment or, we've seen larger, supercomputers get a lot smaller. Like our phone now is basically a supercomputer. So it's more of asking, how do I get my folks to actually change their mindset to be a part of the security process and to understand and actually be enabled with the technologies that are offered to them. A lot of folks, I suggest like gamifying and doing like really cool, fun, like trivia things or, just little things of recognition when they start moving towards, actually thinking about virtualization or security and virtualization. Because I think today security is still seen very much like a speed bump and developers will absolutely work around them to get to do what they need done. And I heard this in a conference talk and it resonated so well with me. It's that application developers and hackers very much have the same behaviors on the network. The only thing that's different is their intent, right? So application developers are going to find a way to go around security controls to get the work they need to do, and adversaries do the same thing.
Okay. All right. Anyone else who wants to join us, we're happy to have you. We have how much time? We have about 15 minutes. Oh, did we get our poll back? Yes, we got our poll back. Let me find out who are the most voted up bad ideas. All right. Take advantage of a summer leasing deal to place a physical data center for your virtualized servers in an open storage closet at DEF CON. That is a great bad idea. Who said that? Please tell me who said that. That is a spectacular bad idea. And then the other ones are all just have sort of... And then virtualize security by making sure that nobody is responsible for it. Those are two really good bad ideas. Please speak up because we want you to come on camera and defend them. So, by the way, the date I had on down below, I said 1/22. It's actually 1/21/22, which is a Friday. Just so you know, I had somehow. The first one was Christopher Lee. All right, Christopher, if you can join us on camera to defend your bad idea of being the truly worst bad idea. And what was the second? I don't know who the second one. The second one was the whoops. Oh, I'm looking at questions here. I'm sorry. I'm going here. Our second bad idea was virtualized security by making sure that nobody is responsible for it. Again, two spectacularly bad ideas. Do you personally have a favorite so far of those two? Like which one's worse, Sandy?
I would absolutely say the unlocked network closet one. But then again, me being very paranoid and it is DEF CON, I would just be like, is this a honeypot? Is this here on purpose for us to play with so they can see how we play with it?
So I have actually spoken at the Black Hat conference to Grifter, who runs the NOC, the Network Operations Center, Black Hat, and he absolutely loves that experience of running that NOC because, especially during the training courses at the beginning of Black Hat, people literally hammer the network, and he sees in a week what it'd take him an entire year to see. Have you had an experience to work in kind of a NOC environment where it's just getting abused and the amount sort of your experience in a short period of time is kind of explosive, Sandy?
So I actually worked in the NOC with Grifter. Love him.
Okay, great. So you know what he's talking about.
Oh, absolutely. And, being that the network is intended to be malicious, it's literally looking for a needle in a haystack of needles. So it's very, and the thing is you can't use things like UEBA or any sort of those like AI, ML technologies because you're only there for 5 days. Mm-hmm. So everything is literally malicious. There's no good baseline. So in an environment like that, it's automation and people, where we can go in and find or be able to isolate who is actually doing something on the network that they're not supposed to be versus this is a class and they should absolutely be pounding the heck out of their neighbor, the network, the next classroom. But yeah, it's definitely a communication on all fronts, both technology, integrations, and people.
Yeah, so you must have the same feeling as Grifter has. I mean, it's just kind of fun to see this happening. And his whole comment was, we let people behave like you said, but our goal is just to keep the darn network up. And so are there some just trying to tear the network down?
Oh, absolutely. Like we've seen instances where folks are trying to like DOS 3-letter agencies at the conference. So we're just like, okay, yeah, probably shouldn't be doing that. Or, they'll all of a sudden create like red team, blue team exercises between classrooms because they start to understand the network or like what VLANs are where, and, can't have that happen, can't be taken down the network. And, people have also tried, once they release a vulnerability for a vendor, I've seen it many times. They'll try and actually, hit that vendor knowing they're at a conference. And, we've seen also a couple instances where you have, your arena where people demo all of their malware and stuff at Black Hat, and they do it on the public network where everyone else is sitting. So that's pretty dangerous, and we have to isolate them pretty quickly as well.
Well, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, what you just described there, how long would it be for you to actually see that in the real world?
It takes a while. And it's funny too, the trend, because typically what you see at Black Hat, like around that time, around Thanksgiving, Christmas, and unfortunately the holiday break is when we start to see it in the wild actively being used.
Mm-hmm. All right. Can we bring on both Christopher and Roland to play our best bad idea face off? Let's Christopher Lee and Roland Mueller. Let's bring them both on to discuss that. And that's very cool that you've had that experience at the NOC. And by the way, if anyone's not seen it, they do actually do tours of the NOC, which is a lot of fun. There's something about Valerie that's up to David, how crazy you want this to get. I don't even know what we're referring to right here. Roland Mueller inviting in Christopher Lee. Roland Mueller and Christopher Lee. Invite both of them on, please. All right. Oh, we do have some more questions that have come in. We answered that one, and Valerie wants to know what our mother's maiden name is. We're not going to answer that. But my mom is coming in town this weekend. I was just discussing that for the holiday. So thrilled to have her. No response from Christopher. We may not be doing this. We may be skipping off to do we have our 10% poll up? Please put up the 10% poll if we've got anything that's on that, Andrew. Please get that up so we can do that, move on. What has virtualization been for you in this last year? Like, how has this last year been very different for you, Sandy?
So I'll say I'm now a fan of Starbucks. Before I was not. So as I was talking about like an actual digital transformation, a lot of people who have, traditional brick and mortar stores have actually had to go through a digital transformation. And I say Starbucks because again, we can even go back to like Netflix versus Blockbuster, since that was like, a big part of digital transformation. But my Starbucks story is basically, I don't like walking into Starbucks. I'm very much an introvert. I don't like people. And being able to literally use my phone, order whatever, and just walk in and grab it, it's convenience. It's very much convenience, time saving, and everything like that.
So
seeing more and more vendors do that is amazing. Even for like
the
insurance.
experience that you can have a customer experience without actually interacting with anyone.
Exactly. That's very much it.
That's great for you. I'll tell you, I saw an experience at a Starbucks where a guy literally had his computer with 2 monitors open and he was doing day trading right in the middle of Starbucks. And he left his computer to go to the bathroom, and my head was like explode. I took photos of it, and we talked about it on an episode. How crazy is that to do day trading in Starbucks? What are you asking for at that point?
Oh, unless you're somehow connected to a VPN or something else, but just leaving your laptop physically open, that right there would give me anxiety. That'd probably be one guy I'd walk up to and be like, hey, do you need my charger cable to charge your iPhone? It's not going to put a rootkit on there, I promise.
No, but I will say that, but let me argue this. In the grand scheme of security issues, how many physical people are in a Starbucks? You've actually limited the scope of the number of people that could cause harm. And what are the percentage of people who have the savvy and also the criminal intent to do just that? See what I'm saying?
You just don't know. You
don't know, but
yeah.
In terms of a numbers thing, it's not that many people. But again, it's insane to me. It was incredibly insane. So you've liked the way that Starbucks doing this, and a lot of people have been pushed into a digital transformation or a work from home environment as a result. What were you pushed to do over the past year, really the past 2 years, that you hadn't been pushed to do before?
So I'm a huge fan of whiteboarding, especially in person, to kind of show or prove a point. I've had to get very creative with not doing death by PowerPoint and just being able to show other creative ways like a light board or a physical whiteboard or, in some of the webinar type platforms, being able to have just a blank canvas and draw to. So I've definitely had to adjust that way. And also figuring out how to read a digital room. So a lot of people are shy. They don't go on video or they don't type in a chat, and they're most likely, as all of us, they are doing multiple things at once, whether that's dealing with family members or, animals or crying babies. It's just been difficult to have someone, pay attention. So I definitely feel properly engaging people and making sure their questions not only get answered, but their concerns has been a big shift in how we approach that.
All right. Just to let you know that we do have our 10% better poll up, and we've got some good votes. And one that's voted up the most is have the CEO listen to your CISO at least 10% of the time, which I thought was humorous. But this one I find interesting too, and I want your take on this, Sandy. Document the security configuration for your VMs because it is easy to recover the image and overlook the hardening configuration. And oh my God, look who just joined us, Edward Haletke. This is the man who joined us for the last 7 minutes of the show. Thank you for he's been just dealing with that. Edward, did you hear my question?
Yes.
All right. So in terms of essentially it was the advice of document the security configuration for your VMs because it's easy to recover the image and overlook the hardening configuration.
Actually, do document it, but actually use automatic documentation.
Explain.
There's a number of tools out there that automatically document your virtual environment. No one should be able to do that by hand. Anytime you have a human involved, it's prone to have mistakes.
Well, that's true. Sandy, can you concur on this?
I absolutely concur. If you're doing something, over and over and over again, it's the definition of insanity as well as oversight, things being overlooked as well.
I mean, when you start dealing with any aspects of virtualization, whether you're in an entirely small environment, maybe 3 or 4 VMs, to hundreds of thousands of VMs, you want as much automation as you possibly can get, because duplicating that environment is really difficult. I mean, I've done it by hand, and I've done it by taking notes, and then I've done it by automation. I mean, this is how the industry grew. When I first started with virtualization in 2004, we did everything by hand. The automation didn't exist. Now it does. Make use of it.
All right. I'm going to get some final thoughts from both of you, and I'm just going to close up the show. So our next chat is going to be Friday the 21st, not the 22nd, the 21st. The 22nd is on a Saturday. If you come on a Saturday, you'll be too late. But it is the 21st, actually. Hacking Distributed Denial of Service, an hour of critical thinking about how to predict, manage, and thwart massive traffic attacks. The link for that is down below. But it is going to change now. Andrew, get ready to change it, because I want to thank first our sponsor, VMware. Thank you, VMware, for all of 2020 and 2021 being a phenomenal sponsor of the CISO series. And guess what? Starting in 90 minutes from now, or actually 95 minutes from now, at 12:30 p.m. Pacific and 3:30 p.m. Eastern, we will be doing our Cybersecurity Headlines Weekend Review. Our guest today is Patty Titus, who's a CISO over at Markel. That will be over on LinkedIn on the CISO series channel. So just go over to LinkedIn to be able to watch that. It's only about 20 minutes long, and we wrap up these stories of the week. Guess what? Log4j is one of them. Hey, guess what? CISO series is hiring. We're looking for an associate producer. I've actually had some nice conversations with people, but we've yet to hire someone. So if you're interested in that job, go to CISOseries.com. You'll find a post about our position. And stick around for our meetup. Have you changed? Change the link at the bottom of the screen, Andrew. Change the link. Click the link at the bottom. There you click. What? It's something there. I don't know if that's the... There it is. Please join. There you go. Click the meetup for the thing. There it is. Click that link. Many of you have not joined us for the meetup. It is a lot of fun. It is our last one of 2021. Let's have some fun. Just a half hour to spend some time with each other. Have some fun with that. And then hold on. Once the last one, tell your friends to join us every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, although not until the 21st. And then you want to sponsor a video chat? Email me at david@cisoseries.com. We got them opening up on May of next year. All right. With that being said, we have just about 3 minutes left. I will start with you, Sandy. Final thoughts on this topic, and also anything you want to pitch, how to get in contact with you, any of the above. What do you got, Sandy?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I am in complete agreement with our guest. Automate everything as much as possible. Make sure it's consistent. Yes. Make sure it's secure. And think of security as seamless. It's not a speed bump. We're actually fun when you talk to us. Even though I may have real hardcore RBF, I'm really a nice person to talk to.
RBF, what it stands for?
I'll let you Urban Dictionary that.
RBF, be something... Being friends, I don't know. All right, somebody else in the will RBF that. All right, remember to click the link at the bottom of the screen. Ed, I am so sorry that we just got you for the last few minutes of the show, but you know what? Final thoughts on this topic. You heard a lot of what we were saying. Any take on it? We just have a minute and a half left.
Yeah, so to secure a virtual environment or even deal with virtual environment security, you need to really look at 4 things. And I'm going to just reiterate those. Protect your management environment. However you want to do that, just protect it. Mm-hmm. The next one is look for toxic combinations. Have monitoring, automatic monitoring, automation to detect things that shouldn't be happening, the ones you know about. The next one is to ensure the environment doesn't DDoS itself. Set the limits. Set the IP rule sets. You really don't want your virtual environment killing itself. It can. The last one is detect unknown unknowns and prevent or remove the things from the system that are known problems. Mm-hmm. So you don't have unknowns. And use some form of user environment behavioral analysis, some form of drift analysis, some form of network analysis, looking for all those unknown unknowns because they do exist. You do those 4 things, you'll have a secure virtual environment, a secure private cloud. And if the cloud providers are doing that, that's a big if, you will have a secure cloud. And then it leaves it just to tenants to secure themselves.
Very good. Thank you very much for your advice, isolating it in a nice minute. I appreciate that. That's Edward Haletke. He's also at TexieWill on Twitter. You are at Cybermama on Twitter, correct, Sandy?
Malware Mama.
I'm sorry. At Malware Mama on Twitter. I want to thank both of you. At Malware Mama, anywhere else people should get in touch with you, Sandy?
LinkedIn. You can definitely social engineer me all you want on LinkedIn.
Social engineer, Sandra Wenzel. Just look her up. She's very much there. Thank you, everybody. Please click the link at the bottom. I want to chat with you for our last meetup for the day. Hopefully, Edward, you can join us for that as well. Click the link at the bottom. That's a whole other platform, which hopefully you won't have problems with. All right. Thank you, everybody.